Welcome to Chinwag with the Horsemen. I'm Andrew.
I'm Abarry.
I'm James.
And I'm Casey.
We are very glad that you're joining us wherever you get fine podcasts. We want to remind you that we do have an email address ready for use from our fans and listeners. James, what's that email address?
That email address is chinwagwithhorsemen@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys.
We sure would. We'd love to get some ideas for content, some feedback, just anything you want to give us. We also have a YouTube channel where the episodes go up after they appear elsewhere, and we've got some plans. We'll go over a little bit later, but we've got some plans for maybe some YouTube content. Abarry, what's the YouTube channel?
Is Chinwag with the Horsemen.
Perfect.
At YouTube.
And we're told it comes up pretty quickly. So that's good. James, do you want to take us into the Boo Bear question of the week?
Yeah, so we've got another email from Boo Bear, and this one's a pretty good one. I think it'll lead into what we've been brainstorming for the last couple of weeks, is some upcoming episodes for everybody. His question was for us to rank the best and worst Jokers from DC's Batman. And with that, you can't rank just the Jokers. So we're going to also rank best and worst Batman. So who wants to start with their list of best or worst Joker, or, best or worst Batman?
Why, sure. So, as far as Joker goes, I always was fond of Jack Nicholson. I thought he is pretty awesome. And Heath Ledger, of course, I thought he was pretty good. As far as good Jokers. And, hey, why not Mark Hamill, too? He's a good, if we're including animated, he's a pretty good Joker as well. As far as worst Jokers, I don't know. What's the guy that's in the newer Joker movies? Is it Joaquin Phoenix or something like that?
So Joaquin Phoenix was in the Joker movie. It came out in 2019. And then there's Jared Leto in the first Suicide Squad.
Okay. Not a fan, I guess, but either one of them really. And Joaquin Phoenix is a good actor, I guess, but not a fan of the Joker or the other guy you mentioned.
Jared Leto.
Yeah, Jared Leto. Not a fan. Not a fan. But do you want me to talk about Batman's, or do you guys want to mention your Jokers first before we go on?
Yeah, we can mention our Jokers.
Right.
I agree with you. Jack Nicholson's Joker is pretty high up on the list. I enjoyed Heath Ledger's rendition of the Joker in The Dark Knight. And then, of course, Mark Hamill. I'm fairly certain all of us are going to rank Mark Hamill pretty high on the list, because we all did grow up watching Batman the Animated Series. But yeah, and then I liked Joaquin Phoenix's sort of take on the Joker, and I did not care at all for Jared Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad. Maybe it was just he didn't have a lot of time in Suicide Squad. I know they brought him back in, if you haven't seen it by now, the Snyder cut of Justice League, his Joker makes a rendition there. So, spoilers for people who haven't seen it. What do you got, Abarry?
Well, I have thought about it, and I would probably rank Jack Nicholson as like my number one Joker. Probably Mark Hamilton as my second Joker. Just because, it's nostalgia. But Heath Ledger is pretty close to number two. Jared Leto, he did all right. He didn't do a bad Joker. And I have never seen the other one with Joaquin Phoenix. But as I have seen, there's a comic book series called The Three Jokers. And it's kind of interesting as we talk about these guys, how they are. And then you could see like the comedian would be the Walking Phoenix one. The serious one could be Jack Nicholson. And then the range one would be Heath Ledger's. Just saying.
I think that's very interesting. I really enjoyed Three Jokers. I thought it was really well written, and I agree with most everything y'all have said. Now, I would rank Mark Hamill as my number one. I'm pretty sure, but I think Abarry's right. I do think there's a degree of nostalgia that's going into that. But when I read Batman comics, the voice I hear as the Joker is Mark Hamill in my head. Maybe that makes me insane. I'm not sure. Are you supposed to hear character voices when you read comics in your head?
I mean, I do.
Okay, good. As long as it's not just me, that's the important thing. My number two is going to be Heath Ledger, and then Jack Nicholson, and then and the only reason I'm putting Jared Leto at the bottom, you guys, anyone who listens knows I was a huge fan of the Snyder Cut, and I think that if they ever release an extended version of Suicide Squad, I think we'll get a completely different performance from Jared Leto in that extended cut. So I rank him as we have him now as the Joker. I rank him at the bottom, but I do think I will say he's kind of just a different. No, you know what? He's not at the bottom because Joaquin Phoenix is definitely at the bottom. I hated that movie. That movie was the creepiest thing. So Abarry didn't come with us, but me and Casey went to James's house one night and watched Joker. And we were making fun of the movie, and we were saying the most ridiculous possible things were going to happen. Like, I don't even remember. What was one? Do you guys remember an example of something off the wall that we suggested might happen, and then it happened?
I can't remember.
We joked about him, like, killing somebody just randomly, like, earlier in the movie. We're like, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to kill that guy. And then, like, 25 minutes later in the movie, yeah, he kills that guy. Yeah. Like just out of the blue, just kills him. And we're like, okay.
That movie's a devil movie. I'm not a fan of that. So he's at the bottom. I didn't like much of anything going on in that movie. Plus he was really creepy around young Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it was very disturbing. That whole dynamic.
Yeah. Hey Barry, you want to go first with best and worst Batman?
I can. I would say the best one, the animated series Batman.
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. Now, I don't mind Jason O'Hare, who's been doing the voice for Batman in some of the animated movies. Or Omer. I don't know how you pronounce his last name.
I think you had it right. I think it's O'Hare.
Yeah.
He's been good, but he probably would be like the fourth Batman. My second would always be the OG, as in I forgot his name now.
Michael Keaton.
Thank you. It went out my head real fast for some reason. And then I like Christian Bale as Batman. And then I'm not a fan of Ben Affleck being Batman. I feel like there was a couple more people that could have been the older Bruce Wayne, and the other guys don't even deal on my list because they was just awful.
I was about to say you left off Val Kilmer.
Yeah, he doesn't make the list. His movie was not that good, and then he became fat. So,
and then you've got George Clooney. You completely left him off.
He should have never been Batman in his whole life.
Just admit it. You did not like the bat nipples.
I did not like the bat nipples. Yep, that's true.
But you just qualified Val Kilmer because he got fat?
No, he just did not have the best of movies. Because he fought Two-Face in The Riddler, which the casting for that one was okay. I just did not see Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. And then having Jim Carrey as the Riddler was kind of a good choice. But then
Tommy Lee Jones hated that. He hated everything about that movie.
Yeah.
He only did it because his kid loves Batman. And Jim Carrey, I've heard Jim Carrey tell this story. I think it's pretty funny. They were at Jim Carrey came into a restaurant, and whoever was seating people knew that they were going to be in Batman together. And he was like, oh, Mr. Tommy Lee Jones happens to be here. Would you like us to take you over to see him? And Jim Carrey was like, well, sure. So this might have been even the first time they met. I don't know. But he said Tommy Lee Jones got up from his chair, came up to him, hugged him, like aggressively hugged him, and whispered in his ear, I cannot sanction your buffoonery. Or something like that. Tommy Lee Jones is scary.
Yeah.
But and then you got George Clooney. His biggest villain was Poison Ivy, who got beat by Robin and Batgirl, and Bane had like a couple scenes, and they made him look like he was a Neanderthal with a dope problem. Give me the cocaine, and I will kill people for you.
Hey, Barry,
Nice.
I have to say, though, you have given one George Clooney villain the cold shoulder.
No,
Yeah.
wait. I was getting to him, and then his biggest, I wouldn't call him a villain per se, because he ended up saving Alfred's life from, McGregor's syndrome. And, if he could kill Alfred, why couldn't he kill his own wife?
Because Alfred was in stage 1 and his wife was in like stage 4.
Well, yeah, I get.
So he could reverse the effects of stage 1, but couldn't reverse the later effects. That's the reason why he put her in stasis.
And then having, Poison Ivy almost kill her just to, weasel away Victor Freeze was kind of a dumb plot loss.
I
The
just-
one-liners were awesome, though. you
Yeah,
know?
I was about to say the one-liners were fantastic. You remember, Casey, when me and you, I think you bought the 4-pack of Batman movies,
Oh, yeah.
and we were watching Batman and Robin, and our roommate at the time didn't understand it, and he just absolutely hated it. So for the next week, me and you only talked in Victor Freeze one-liners.
Everybody chill or whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody freeze. Yeah.
He didn't like any of that. I don't think he talked to us for that entire week. And then we started watching CSI, and he hated that because every time the episode started, the main person was they'd say some cheesy line person dies in a restaurant, and they're like, they should have had takeout. And then the theme music starts. We did that as well. Casey would say some kind of cheesy one-liner, and then I would hit the theme song for CSI, and he'd just walk out and leave.
That was funny.
No,
man.
I mean,
We were terrible roommates.
Oh, yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was not the worst person they could cast for Freeze. I just think they went too heavy on Freeze was a foreign citizen from another country. Let's get Arnold Schwarzenegger because he's a big star.
I'm a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger and any of those 90 movies. They're just so many one-liners.
Yeah.
They're so funny.
It's all great. The most awkward time I ever had was watching True Lies at Casey's house.
True
Oh,
Lies
the one-
is a
the-
great. If you haven't seen that, you should watch it because
It's
it's
an
a
awesome
great
movie.
movie.
James, I can promise you it gets much worse at Casey's house than True Lies.
I'm just
The
saying,
things that
us
come on
sitting there
TV.
watching True Lies and JB Lee Curtis is pretending to be a spy doing her little striptease thing, and us sitting there and Casey's parents sitting there is just awkward.
Oh, yeah.
I remember
I remember
walking in one day while they was watching Serenity,
Oh, that's
Serenity.
a great movie.
and in the part where the guy finally hooks up with the girl, and then his sister comes down from the rafters.
Oh, the weird girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we was talking about why she would do that and how they would explain what they was doing to her.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
think I didn't miss a beat going, oh, we was wrestling. I didn't miss a beat when somebody said something. I was like, oh, they could just say they was wrestling.
Avery has the excuse ready to go at any second, too.
Yeah.
We're just wrestling.
For
Who's
any
in wrestling?
possible situation, Avery's ready. Casey, best and worst Batman.
So, like you with the Mark Hamill voice or whatever, when I think of Batman's voice, it's definitely Kevin Conroy from the animated series. He's got to be number one because I don't know. I associate with him with Batman so much. Christian Bale is probably number two. I really enjoyed those movies. And I guess Michael Keaton would be third. For worst, it's a classic, it was good for its time, but I'm just not a fan of the Adam West Batman. They're just so silly. And I don't know. I guess that's it. Not crazy about George Clooney, I guess, either. The bat nipples.
George Clooney was just not a good Batman.
No, he's a good actor, but man, he just didn't have a good chance at Batman.
He's a great Danny Ocean, but not a great Batman.
Not a great Batman. I don't know.
So,
what do you think, James?
What do you got, Andrew?
So, Kevin Conroy is my number one. Just like Casey was saying, whenever I read a Batman comic, it's Kevin Conroy's voice I hear. So Kevin Conroy is definitely number one. And I'm considerably torn between Christian Bale and Ben Affleck. And when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, I was furious. I've never really been a Ben Affleck fan, and Batman is my favorite comic character. Like, man, the guys will tell you, Batman is it as far as comics go for me. I think Batman's the best. So I was not at all pleased with that. But when I watched Batman versus Superman, and then, it wasn't great in Justice League, but the Snyder Cut, I think he's really got it down. And I think he does a really good job of balancing Bruce Wayne and Batman in some kind of the same way that Christian Bale did. So I would say Christian Bale and Ben Affleck tie for number two. And I would put Michael Keaton at number three. As far as worst goes, I think we're pretty well going to be in agreement that George Clooney is the worst possible. I don't know what went wrong with that. I think it was, I think maybe they were just trying to sell a bunch of toys. And so they made a goofy, silly movie to sell toys. So Batman and Robin is the WWE of Batman movies, as far as I'm concerned. It's just,
they got the. If you think about it this way, before we go to James's list, if you think about Batman and Robin, they brought in the biggest heroes for that time. You had George Clooney, you had Chris O'Donnell, and you had Reese Witherspoon. No, who was it?
No, it's
Alicia
Silverstone,
yeah.
And they brought them in to be like, this is going to be the best Batman movie. And then they brought in Uma Thurman and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they was like, this should be a home run.
So, Abarry, I do have a question, though. So you said you didn't think Mr. Freeze was the worst choice I'm sorry, you said Arnold Schwarzenegger was not the worst choice for Mr. Freeze. Do you have someone in mind that would have been worse? Like, do you have anybody that you're thinking of that would have been a worse? I think he's terrible. I think he's just awful. He's hilarious. And when you watch it to enjoy it for it being, ridiculous, I think you can enjoy it. But I'm just curious, who do you think would have been worse? I'm trying to think of like big actors of that time.
Well, they could have casted, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Touché. You were right. Sylvester Stallone would have been worse.
They could have casted, I'm trying to think of...
Man.
Yeah. So,
hang on. Just so that, I've searched biggest actors of the 90s, and it is sorting them by height. That's not what I meant.
Literally the biggest actors. You know what? Who was that guy that was, we mentioned him an episode or two ago, who's in like all the movies in the 90s, who was in Jurassic Park, like the computer nerd guy?
Newman?
Yeah, yes. Newman from Seinfeld.
Newman. He could have been Mr. Freeze. That would have been awful.
All right, what about here? Here's number one. This is from a site called The Top 10s. I don't know. But it says the top 10 best actors of the 90s. What do you think? Tom Hanks as Mr. Freeze.
Hold on, Andrew. Before we get into this, we should hit James's list.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, you're right.
And then we could go and
Who would be a worse Mr. Freeze?
Freeze.
Okay, so my list. I mean, it's going to be no surprise. Number one, Batman's Kevin Conroy, and it's just that nostalgic feel about it. Number two is going to be Christian Bale. I really enjoyed the entire Nolan series of Batman stuff. Then the Batfleck gets in there at number three, above Michael Keaton. And I think the reason why, like, Batman and Robin was such a poorly put together movie was, one, they were trying to sell a whole bunch of toys, which worked. Me and Abarry bought a ton of Batman toys and stuff off of that, license. They were also trying to, like, bring it back into more of a, like, kid-friendly 90s flashy colors, more campy style, like the Adam West Batman stuff was, because you're coming off of Batman and then Batman Forever, which were both very, like, dark and not gritty movies, but just darker movies than what George Clooney and Val Kilmer's Batmans were.
Well, if you think about it, Batman, the first Batman was filmed by Tim Burton, am I right?
Yeah,
That's right.
Then the second one was also filmed by Tim Burton.
Yeah, that's the one where the penguin puked up black gunk all over himself at the end.
yeah.
Well, they didn't want him to have blood. They said it wasn't kid friendly if he was puking up blood.
Well, they might have a point.
But again, for Batman, like, I get the whole Adam West part, because Adam West was the campy, fun, dancey, I have shock repellent. But Batman is not the colorful personality that we want to see. We want to see the dirty, the grit, the dark film, because he's not making it happy.
I think we're going to see that in the new Batman that's coming out. Like, I've heard the test screenings of that have gotten rave reviews, and it's being compared to a horror movie more than an action movie.
It is kind of hard for me to get behind, and Abarry was talking about this before we started recording, but it is hard for me to get behind Robert Pattinson as Batman. But I'm going to give it a shot because I'm a Batman fan, true core Batman fan. Let's do real quick here. I want each of you, and we'll go in this order. We'll go in alphabetical order. Abarry, Casey, James. We're going to go down this list, and I want you to tell me better Mr. Freeze or worse Mr. Freeze than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay? All right, Abarry. Tom Hanks,
Really?
better or worse?
I get Tom Hanks straight off the bat.
No, everybody's getting Tom Hanks, but you're just going first.
Oh, well, okay. I could see, okay.
Just better or worse?
So
What do
come
you
on,
think?
rapid fire. Better or worse? Gut instinct.
Was they would give the best on performance as he could.
Okay, Casey, better or worse?
Worse. Arnold's awesome.
James?
It's going to be worse.
But I think he would act the pants off.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Leonardo DiCaprio, Abarry, better or worse?
I would have to go worse.
In a
because I think
way,
he
at the end of Titanic, he kind of played Mr. Freeze.
but I'm pretty
did.
sure in The Revenant he got raped by a bear. So
Oh my gosh.
Dang.
I can't get behind him.
Casey, better or worse?
Worse. Arnold's the best forever.
Oh my gosh. James.
Oh, he'd be better because he'd actually turn himself into Freeze. He's that kind of a method actor.
You know what? You're probably right about that. He'd probably jump into a pool of frozen liquid. Oh, here's a good one.
I got it. Hold on. Christian Bale.
Mr. Freeze? He'd have to bulk up, but we know he can. He's done that a lot.
Yeah.
All right, Abarry. Tom Cruise, better or worse?
But God, his facial features would be hilarious doing the freeze thing.
Casey, better or worse?
Actually, maybe better, but only if he's playing Maverick from Top Gun.
So he's got to be playing Maverick as Mr. Freeze.
Yes, he's got to be Maverick, but also Mr. Freeze.
James?
Oh, he's going to be worse. You can't have Freeze be, 4 feet shorter than Batman.
This is kind of an interesting one, actually. Keanu Reeves, Abarry, better or worse?
Ooh, I think it would have to be like half and half.
Oh, you think
Just
about the same?
because- Yeah, he would be okay because he would get into it. I just don't think him being if he was like Freeze's voice in a comic one, I could see it, but not live person. I just don't see that.
Casey, better or worse? Keanu Reeves.
You know what? This is a hard one because I really like Keanu Reeves. I'm going to say at least as good as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
James?
All right. Keanu Reeves now would be better. Keanu Reeves in the 90s, worse. Like a frat boy playing Freeze.
That's an interesting take. All right, Barry. Brad Pitt, better or worse?
Worse.
No additional word there, just worse. Wow. Casey, better or worse? Brad Pitt.
Worse. No further comments.
James.
It'd be worse because he would be eating all the time.
That's true. Ooh, we're going to skip Jim Carrey.
What else we got?
We're going to skip Jim Carrey because he was the Riddler in the last one. Now, this is
He's already
interesting.
in one.
Hey, Barry.
Hey guys,
Hopkins.
give me a moment.
Okay. Yeah. Casey, Anthony Hopkins.
Okay, so Anthony Hopkins, he would actually be better in a serious movie because he is super creepy and he would be a really good like bad guy. So he would be better in a serious movie. So I'm gonna give it to Anthony for this one.
All right. James.
I think he would be better because he's already creepy enough with his like psychoness of Hannibal Lecter. So I think that's what he would tap into to be Freeze.
I definitely don't disagree with that. I think he might be all right at that. And then we've got Sylvester Stallone. We've already kind of gone over him. Avery has definitively stated he would have been much worse. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, Bruce Willis. He's already bald. He's already
Yes, he's
halfway
already
through
bald.
makeup. Casey, better or worse?
Worse. Not as good.
James?
I love Bruce Willis as John McClane, but definitely would be worse as Mr. Freeze.
Andrew, can I add a bonus?
I think I would have a
bonus
hard time
character
buying
after you?
Bruce Willis as an ex-scientist of any kind. Yeah, Casey, go ahead. Throw somebody out.
I'm gonna throw somebody out, and I want your first opinion on if they would be good or not. You ready?
As Mr. Freeze, right?
As a Mr. Freeze, Joe Don Baker.
Oh my gosh. So Joe Don Baker would be excellent as Mr. Freeze. If you're if you're listening and you've not watched much Mystery Science Theater 3000, let me recommend to you that you do so. They spoof movies, and they did one called, what is it, Casey? Final Justice or something like
Yeah,
that?
I believe that was the name.
And Joe Don Baker's in it. They make so many Joe Don Baker jokes. It's hilarious. But yeah, Joe Don Baker, man, he was the CIA guy in GoldenEye, right? And
It was, yeah.
he was a freaking moron. Like, oh man.
All I remember about watching Mystery Science Theater was the Santa Claus and the devil trying to get children in Mexico or something. It was,
Santa Claus the movie.
It was weird. Like,
But not the Santa Claus the movie.
No,
Yeah,
not
the
the
Tim
Santa
Allen.
Claus, but it's literally
Wholesome
called Santa
movie.
Claus the movie. You remember when he started up his creepy robotic reindeer
yeah,
and the thing giggles?
that whole movie is traumatizing.
It is. It really is.
It's a great horror movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty good for that. So I love what we've done here. We've taken the Boo Bear question of the week and we've gone in a different direction, but I think we covered the question. So
I think that's really what Boo Bear ultimately wants when he sends these questions in, is just for us to ramble on about them.
perfect. Mission
I just gotta
accomplished.
say, back in the 90s, they let some of the actors take more freedoms than what they do now.
What do you mean?
So, well, like George Clooney, the Batman, said, the only way I do it is if we put nipples on it.
No, that was more the director's take on the bat suit. That was Schumacher.
The director was very interested that the bat suits be pretty revealing and anatomically correct.
Yeah.
So, has everyone had a chance to watch The Suicide Squad? I guess I should have asked this before we started.
I have watched it twice now.
You've watched it twice?
Dang.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, you go
You're
first.
a big fan of the Weasel.
You go first. What do you think about The Suicide Squad?
So I can have a good opinion about it. You know, I know I say that I feel like a broken record. It was good for what it was billed as. I did, like I said, I don't know if we recorded that part in the last one we did, but I was excited that some of the people got destroyed at the beginning. I was unhappy that some of the people died, as in like Boomerang. Spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
it happened in the first, 10 minutes of the movie. But like Captain Boomerang, Ric Flair. But again, for a suicide movie, at least some people died. Was better than the first one where one person died. Well, Killer Croc. No, Killer Croc survived.
Slipknot died.
Yeah, Slipknot's the only one that died.
No, Diablo.
He became a demon god. Yeah.
But out of, what was it, 7, 8 people, only 2 died. In this one, they pretty much just did it right and had like a whole slew of people die, which is the way of a Suicide Squad because, you always have that chance of dying, I guess.
I mean, I want to say that 2 out of 8 is still 25%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Slipknot does not count as he was made for the movie.
He's Casey's favorite character.
I think what everybody's saying is it's like having a Mortal Kombat movie with no tournament in it. Yeah. Yeah.
Casey, what did you think about The Suicide Squad?
I watched it at work.
Out there saving lives.
Out there saving lives. Watched it at work. And, honestly, I've never seen the first one. So, hey, I may have loved the first one. But this one, it was entertaining. There were some funny parts. I probably would not watch it a second time. Me personally, I would probably just watch it like if I had nothing better going on. I'm like, let's just put that on in the background.
Nothing better going on like at your job?
Complete silence. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or in life in general. But I don't really get to watch a lot of movies anymore. But, with family life and stuff. But, it was okay. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep during the end of it. So maybe it wasn't that good. But it was entertaining. I'll give it that. There were some entertaining parts. But I give it 2 boomerangs out of 7. So not good.
We're just making up ratings now. We're going to do boomerangs.
Okay.
I mean, I liked it. Like, I didn't take it for the seriousness stuff like I would Snyder cut of Justice League. But I enjoyed it. I liked them freaking out about the Weasel at the very beginning and Flag being like, look, he's practically harmless. Well, I mean, he has killed 27 kids, but he's practically harmless. That was funny to me. And I liked James Gunn has a really good ability of making you care about completely CGI animated characters like King Shark and everything. But it was good. It was entertaining. I'd give it, 4.5 boomerangs out of 7, I guess. So I didn't like the fact that Flag dies at the end. That kind of ruins any future Suicide Squad.
Hey, Barry, we didn't get your rating, I don't think. You talked about it, but I don't think we got your actual rating.
I mean, okay, let's talk about how the drawbacks are. You have Harley Quinn, who, yes, she's a member of the Suicide Squad, but you know that they ain't gonna kill her off because she has more movies coming out. So it was better than the first one because you didn't have I guess you didn't have Will Smith running around shooting people.
Abarry, do you not like Harley Quinn because she was supposed to be a one-off character for Batman the Animated Series and then became what she is now?
I really don't mind her being a heroine or an anti-hero or whatever she is for people. Because, I mean, she's a female superhero that's other than Wonder Woman or Hulk Go, who I don't think we ever going to get to see in live action, other than off of the Flash's TV show. But I just don't like her being like the main
Star?
Yeah, the main person that, because in that movie she didn't really do much. She just was just there. I think they trying to set up her having a feud or something with the Joker sometime soon because of her replacing the tattoos on her and stuff.
So how many boomerangs out of 7?
Probably 3.5. Because they killed Captain Boomerang.
Well, I hated this entire thing. I did not care for this very much. There were parts of it that I was entertained by. I will say that. But I hated that they killed Captain Boomerang. I hated that Pete Davidson was in it. The best part of it was when he died. And it was downhill from there. I think not having Will Smith was a huge detriment to this. And I think that it was trying very hard. And I know they have the same directors, but I think it was trying just a little too hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy, only with F-bombs. I think that DC has somewhat panicked over the dark DC movies that Zack Snyder was doing, and then the original Suicide Squad. They cut a lot of that out and also tried to sort of copy Guardians of the Galaxy. So what I'm waiting for is David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad to be released to HBO Max. I hope that happens. I think it'd be good to see. But I was not into this much at all. I give it 1/2 of a giant starfish monster out of 1,000 giant starfish monsters.
I have to say, I agree with Andrew on the whole thing of them trying to be something that they ain't, in which I think there was more of Thor Ragnarok kind of deal than, well, Guardians of the Galaxy is in that same run, but of being campy. I just can't get behind that.
Yeah, I agree. I was just not very impressed by it. But moving on now to some really big Horsemen news, something that James and I, at least, and Abarry too, but Abarry won't admit it, but something that James and I have been waiting on for years and years and years. Casey has finally begun to get into the greatest sport in the world, professional wrestling. And so I want to let Casey kind of take over here. He's watched some wrestling stuff. I want him to talk about what he's watched and, what he's thinking so far in his pro wrestling journey as a new fan. So, Casey, it's all yours.
All right, man. So, yeah, I've been watching wrestling off and on for years, used to watch it with my grandpa some and watch it with you guys now and then. Never been like a, regular watcher of the wrestling or whatever, but I started watching Dark Side of the Ring on from suggestion of you guys on here. It's on Hulu. That's where I watched it. Just season 1 and 2 are on there, but I started watching them, and I watched like both seasons in just a few days. It was crazy. Binge watched them. But yeah, I really enjoyed the stories, about some of the popular characters in wrestling. And I liked, I don't know, just the history of it. It's really cool. And then this, it is neat how these guys are like, they are like athletes, it takes a lot to do what they do. And I'm sure you have to be in really good shape. But yeah, so been watching some wrestling.
What's your favorite episode of Dark Side of the Ring that you watched?
So I started watching it because you guys had mentioned how Ric Flair had went to North Korea, and there's an episode about that. But it's in season 3. I've not got to watch it yet. It's not on Hulu yet. So I thought, man, that's going to be an awesome episode. And I actually watched something on YouTube about that whole situation, which I thought was really, really cool, really neat. I don't know, not cool for them, but it just interesting. I'm trying to think which one was my favorite. I wonder if I can find like an episode list or something, because they were all really entertaining. Let me see.
So the episodes are Match Made in Heaven, which is Savage and Miss Elizabeth. You've got the Montreal Screwjob. You've got Killing of Bruiser Brody. You've got the Last of the Von Erichs. The Mysterious Death of Gorgeous Gino. And then the Fabulous Moolah. That's season 1. Season 2, you've got the 2-parter of the Benoit story. Then you've got the Life and Crimes of New Jack, the Brawl for All, Jimmy Snuka and the Death of Nancy. You've got the Assassination of Dino Bravo. You got David Schultz and the Slap Heard Around the World. You've got Cocaine and Cowboy Boots, the Last Ride of the Road Warriors, and then the Final Days of Owen Hart.
Man. So, I don't know. I mean, I thought each when you mentioned each of those episodes, they're just so much interesting stories there. I guess wrestling has so much more going on behind the scenes. I guess that's what was interesting to me about it. I thought, of the earlier episodes, the one with Macho Man Randy Savage, that was a pretty interesting one. But man, they were all pretty interesting. I mean, they were just some cool, stories, behind the scenes stuff with all of them.
So in watching these, they have a lot of different panelists and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know the answer to this, but who is your favorite panelist on Dark Side of the Ring?
Oh man, I definitely liked Jim Cornette. He was awesome. He was pretty funny. He's just a very smart guy. He's been in the business for a long time, knows what he's talking about, and he was actually there for a lot of this stuff. So yeah, Jim Cornette for sure.
How much Jim Cornette? So my wife and I like to listen to Jim Cornette's podcast when we're driving. We're going on vacation or something. We got a long drive. It's fun to listen to him. He is not very happy with the current state of wrestling. How much Jim Cornette have you listened to, like on YouTube or whatever?
So I guess I've only seen like a part of a show or two on YouTube, maybe a couple of maybe less than an hour total probably on YouTube. But then he's been on most episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. And then, I watched the 30 for 30 with Ric Flair. He was in that as well. But yeah, not a lot. But, I told you guys, well, not told the audience, but who he reminded me of. Can I mention that here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I thought, man, that's like Andrew. He kind of, the way he's talking about wrestling. I don't know, Andrew can be pretty passionate about it too, I guess.
Not like that. I mean, I don't think I would do bodily harm to Vince Russo, but
no. Oh man, that's crazy. He really legit wants to kill that guy. I'm pretty sure if he could get away with it.
Speaking of Jim Cornette, Abarry actually had a photo taken with Jim Cornette at the NWA's return of the Crockett Cup that me and Abarry went to for his 30th birthday.
One of my biggest regrets in all of my pro wrestling watching is not going to the Crockett Cup with you guys. I had a seat and everything, and I had to work the next day, or the day that it was or whatever. We were watching it. We got like 30 seconds in. We saw James and Abarry on TV, And my wife was like, "You definitely should have gone to that." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." But yeah, Jim Cornette could have taken Abarry to the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm pretty sure of that. You could have been the next Vader, Abarry.
That would have been awesome. Oh man, I will say this dark side of the ring. If you're wanting to get into wrestling, there's at least a lot of really cool stories on there about the history of wrestling, the people behind wrestling. It's cool. It's a good way to get into wrestling, I would say.
There's a lot of sad, tragic stuff there too. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of awful stuff that happened in wrestling. I mean, these guys have been through a lot.
I tell you, one that I always liked is the Bruiser Brody one. Because it's awful how he died, but to understand that he was loved by people in New Japan, people here, and he died because of a stupid thing that happened in a South American country.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
In the United States. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
So Casey, you mentioned you watched Ric Flair's 30 for 30.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tell what's your favorite? What's the highlight of that for you? What was the highlight of seeing that? And we're long-term listeners know we're all North Carolina boys. So Ric Flair, I think, is he's definitely my favorite. I know James has been a Shawn Michaels guy, but man, it's hard to beat Ric Flair.
I don't know if there's one particular thing. There's one of the things that stands out in my mind. I don't know if it's my favorite for sure, but I remember, I guess it was Shawn Michaels talking during it, and he said that they were on a jet and Ric Flair just come out of the bathroom like wearing just his robe or something like that, and was like, woo, in front of everybody.
He got in a lot of trouble for that. I mean, that's called in wrestling history, that's called the plane ride from hell.
Oh no!
Wasn't there danger of was it Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar, or Vince McMahon and Kurt Angle were wrestling in the aisle? Do you remember, James?
I think it was Vince and Angle were wrestling in the aisle, but what made it such a terrible flight was I think they got delayed in the landing for some reason, and then when it was finally oh yeah, we're going to have to land because we're almost out of fuel. So they almost were involved in a giant plane wreck.
Gosh.
Yeah. And Ric Flair, he did a little bit more than just come out with just his robe on. He may have pretty strongly sexually harassed flight attendants. And they kind of
really,
yeah. Ric Flair, to be the greatest wrestler of all time, he kind of has a sordid kind of past. It's hard to be a fan of Ric Flair sometimes.
He did some crazy stuff, man. So
one of the things he did, he won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship 10 times. He's a 10-time NWA champion. And we've been working on getting Casey into the NWA, into the new version of the NWA or whatever. And he was able to catch a little bit of NWA power tonight. I don't think he watched the whole episode, but he got a little bit of it under his belt. So, Casey, having now seen Trevor Murdoch, the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion, what are your impressions of the NWA and the wrestlers and all like that?
So the NWA is definitely, the wrestling was definitely better, I would say. It's more, I guess, more realistic. And the people wrestling look more like, I mean, they look like athletes. They look like they're in shape, but they do not look like they're on roids and everything else like a lot of the people in the WWE or other wrestling promotions or whatever.
Say WWE, it's okay.
WWE, they don't look like they're on roids. Not that they are on roids, but these guys just look like they're on roids. But no, the NWA guys, they look like they could be, real people, and they are actually, they're doing some real technical looking wrestling. I mean, it looks like, looks legit.
So I will tell you, and James and I were texting about this earlier in the group text, but this was not necessarily the best episode of Power that I think it was a little crowded this week, and there were a lot of people just kind of wandering out to do interviews. It's kind of weird, but I'm glad you're getting into it. That's exciting.
Oh yeah, man.
We might
look forward to watching some more, hopefully.
I hope you do, and I think we ought to do a recurring segment where James Abarry and I assign you a Jim Cornette video of the week for you to watch and talk about.
Yeah. Jim Cornette, man.
I do have one question, Casey, because
Sure.
you probably was just like me on Sunday. Do you recurring check the group chat between all four of us, between James and Andrew, or do you just let the text messages kind of pile up?
Sometimes if I'm busy, I let them pile up, and then I don't know. I don't think I've beaten Abarry's record, but I've gotten probably 60 some, maybe.
I crushed it on Sunday.
How many did you get?
Because I stopped checking it, and one time it was at 100.
Dang, man.
Just between James and Andrew. I checked it, and then I put it back down, and I had 90 more.
You should have joined in. Like, you could have watched the pay-per-view. You could have been in there with the analysis. Like, you could have joined.
Analysis.
Let me also put, this was only a 3-hour show, maybe.
It's the NWA. It's the best wrestling that is out there.
So here's the thing.
4 hours. I had over, in 2 occasions, 100 text messages.
It's important. So, for those of you that might not know, and this is coming out, I don't know when this will come out, next Saturday, I guess, but on Sunday, the NWA 73rd anniversary pay-per-view happened. And James and I definitely said, you guys can watch this pay-per-view and you'll know what we're texting about. But they didn't. So, and I love that James and I don't text just each other. We put it in the group in the group text that we have. Yeah, and now I really want to keep doing it because I want Abarry's text numbers to just really go up.
Yeah, So I go to bed Sunday night, wake up Monday morning to go to work, and there's a text from Abarry that says 196 text messages between me and Andrew. And I just laughed. I shared it with my wife, and she goes, "Why don't you guys just have a private chat between the two of you?" And I was like, "We do, but it's more fun to do it in the group chat."
We were on the same page with that. I did the exact same thing. I woke up and laughed, took a screenshot of it, sent it to my wife. It's hilarious. Well, if you're not watching the NWA, you really should. If you like pro wrestling at all, you need to check out the NWA. I'm going to do a plug for them here for free. You can check them out on Fight TV. It's like $4.99 a month, and you get to watch their weekly television show. It's a good deal. But moving on from wrestling, Casey was telling us earlier about a new game coming out with Marvel characters. So I was going to let Casey go ahead and very quickly go over that.
All right. So in upcoming games and movies that we're excited about, I was, of course, Marvel's Midnight Suns is a game that's coming out here pretty soon that we saw a trailer for a while back. I guess just the other day. But it's by the developers of XCOM for Axis. And for years now, anything they've been involved with, most games that they've been involved with, I've really enjoyed, especially XCOM 1 and 2, which are remakes of an older game. But Marvel's Midnight Suns is a upcoming tactical XCOM style game with Marvel characters, which is what I'm excited about. The storyline, I'm not sure about what it's going to be about. It's some early 90s Marvel storyline about Lilith. I don't know, but it looks like it has some interesting, some good Marvel characters in it: Iron Man, Captain America, Wolverine, Blade, a few, several big name characters. But I think it'll be a good game considering who's making it. But it's a game we're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to. It should come out next year. But what do you guys think? You guys, I played XCOM at your guys' house when I first bought the first one. I played it at James's house. And
do you think they're going to have permadeath in it like they do on the XComs, where when your character dies, that's it, they're dead?
that was a big thing with XCOM because, you know, I named his character after Abarry, and I'm pretty sure they got slaughtered, and I was pretty sad. It was like the worst day of my life, and I had to stop that game and couldn't play it anymore. But
those aliens move fast, though.
They do, man. Abarry was my heavy character. He's had the big machine gun, the bazooka. He was my best character, and you know, my team just fell apart without him.
Well, and another thing I didn't like about the XCOM games, I mean, they're fun games, but the dice rolls and the like hit boxes were ridiculous. You could be right on top of a character, have a 99% chance of hitting and miss.
Oh yeah, it's always some kind of like you really need to make that hit too, and then that happens, and you're like,
and then
dang
your team gets slaughtered by all the other aliens,
and then Abarry gets disintegrated.
I know, and then you have to quit that game because Abarry's not there no more. But I pretty much anytime I start a game like that, I got to name the character Abarry. So, but I've read that unlike XCOM, since it has, you know, major Marvel characters, they're not going to do permadeath. They're not going to have Iron Man getting, you know, destroyed by somebody and never coming back. So it's going to be similar gameplay to XCOM, but they're not going to have permadeath, and it's going to be more. I guess they're going to be pretty overpowered characters, so they're going to be taking out a lot of different characters. The heroes are going to be taking out a lot of characters, I guess, versus, you know, a few aliens that are as strong as your team is, you know. But yeah.
Well, cool. We'll be looking forward to that. I do kind of want to. We had talked about doing some. There are a few trailers that have come out. And that sort of thing. But I do think we are going to not get into that because we're running a little bit short on time. But one thing I do want to talk about, while we do have a few more moments, is some upcoming content that we're pretty excited about. And this was Abarry's concept. So, Abarry, do you want to explain sort of what we're thinking about doing?
Was this my concept?
Was it not? Was it James's? I'll tell you what.
It's a group thought.
We're going to do a DC Marvel comic book character tournament. We will have a draft. Each of the four of us will draft. James, you're going to have to help me out here. I forget how many we're going to get each.
We're gonna draft 8 people each. So it's going to be a 32 person, 32 hero villain single elimination tournament, kind of like March Madness style, but with DC Marvel heroes.
And it's possible that you're going to get J. Jonah Jameson versus, you know, Superman in one of these matchups. You just never know.
Could happen. And we're not going just strictly off of like, oh, they're having a fight. We're going to base it all off of some categories. So it kind of will even the playing field. Because, you know, Superman is literally a god. And then you've got people like Batman and Iron Man who are just, you know, like geniuses and just have, you know, billions of dollars to throw at whatever tech they want to try to take down a person. So we're gonna base it off of some categories that I think kind of even the playing field. So we're gonna do strength, intelligence, speed and agility, their durability, and their fighting skills are the categories we're gonna base it all off of.
And we will each give them we'll rank them 1 to 5 in each of these categories. So a possible top score, once all of our scores are combined, possible top score of 100. If you were to get 5s across the board in every category from all 4 of us, you'd have 100. And then we'll just compare the numbers. And I wonder if do you think we could probably find a random bracket generator or or something?
Yeah, I'm sure we could find that. But I think this will be very interesting. We're definitely going to geek out, nerd out quite a bit during this because each bracket we're going to debate, you know, the merits of our person and why they should advance. So
yeah, you can look forward to that next time because we're going to do the draft and we're going to do a bracketology episode. So all in the next episode. So for sure, be looking out for that. That's going to be, we're excited about that. This is a pretty cool concept. We might apply this to other things too. We might do, I don't know, we might do Star Trek and Star Wars one time or something. Who knows? But that's next time. This time I hope you've enjoyed what we've talked about. Get excited for the NWA and pro wrestling. Join us on Casey's journey through pro wrestling. Start with the NWA right now, and you can follow along with Casey as he really digs into pro wrestling. Hopefully next week we'll have another Boo Bear question. We'll be able to go through some of these trailers that we had to skip over this time. We ran out of time. I did the stupid better or worse Mr. Freeze game, and we ran out of time. So that's my fault. But next time we'll be more conscious of that. Hey, Barry, where can they reach us on YouTube?
At Chinwag with the Horsemen.
Casey, what's that email address?
It's chinwagwithhorsemen@gmail.com. And we welcome any questions, comments, concerns, whatever you got.
For Chinwag with the Horsemen, I'm Andrew.
I'm Abarry.
I'm James.
And I'm Casey.
Thanks for listening.